welcome back to another episode of SaiOS. Out here in beautiful Francis Beatty Park. Beautiful afternoon, evening here. But let's continue to take a look at the SaiOS, my life operating system. So far we've taken a good look at all the aspects in the alignment zone, just kind of connecting the high-level aspirations through the affirmations with the actions. And so this episode, this is not necessarily within a specific section of the pyramid, but I want to be taking a look at, since this is it's kind of related to affirmations, but essentially habits and practices. So these are things that I want to do on a consistent basis, on a routine basis, to make progress towards my affirmations, towards my projects, towards the person that I want to become. And so these habits and practices, this will probably be a quicker episode, but let me just get into it. So this habits and practices database, it actually only has about four fields. So I just kind of have the habit, which is the name of the habit, and the frequency, which is how often do I want to do the habit ideally, and then the status, which is just two choices of active or inactive. And then I have a relation here to the wisdom vault, which I'll be getting into after I finish up the alignment zone sections here. But it's a relation to essentially my knowledge base, however you want to think about it. And so the different frequencies that I have here, there's about five or six, five different variations here. So one is the daily frequency. So there's things that which if you remember, if you listen to the daily tracking episode, there are things in there fields in there for check boxes that I'm tracking on a daily basis. And so those ones, most of them, I'll have written here, and the ones that are not hidden fields within the daily tracking template, within that page, they'll be listed as active here. If it's fully updated, they'll be listed as active. And if something's an idea, or if it's essentially been archived, it'll be inactive here. And so some of the things that are active that I'm tracking in the daily tracking database and active and are labeled as such in this habits and practice database is my affirmation, or the mirror work, I should say. So repeating the affirmation 3 times in front of the mirror. I'm setting the day or intentions. I'm writing down my dreams, taking a cold shower, doing Shambhavi, drinking celery juice, listening and chanting along with the Kubera mantra, doing visualization meditation, doing my 6-time book, doing freeform journaling, doing my list journal. And so these are... There's a beehive above me somewhere. But these are things that I want to be doing on a daily basis and tracking as such. And so, these ones you've seen in the daily tracking database already. And so so that's easy to track, right? You just have the daily tracking, and then you roll it up to the weekly to get the view there, and then keep aggregating and rolling up from there. So that's pretty straightforward. From a week perspective, the next level up from daily is things that I want to be doing multiple times a week, but it's not a must do every day. And so things that I've categorized as this are Wim Hof, working out, calling home, and learning 3 new vocab words. And so these 4 things here I actually still keep track of, if you remember, I still keep track of in the daily tracking database. I used to keep track of it in the weekly template, but I changed it to the daily tracking database, because these are still things that are being done multiple times a week, so it's easier to track in a daily basis there. Well, there's a lot of bees here. And so, that's essentially what I'm keeping track of in the daily tracking page. And in the weekly, I'm reviewing vocab words, reviewing my freeform journal, reviewing the vaults, practice of instruments, practice of languages, applying a face mask, learning one new bhajan. So these are things that I want to be tracking on a weekly basis, and so I'll have these check boxes within the weekly template. And some of these are active, some of these are inactive, but these are just some of the things that I want to be tracking on that level instead of on a daily basis or on a monthly basis. So it's pretty simple. I've had challenges of how do I remind myself to do this? If it's not a task, and if it's just supposed to be done once or twice a week, how do I remind myself to do that? So, that's been a challenging notion so far. The way I've gotten around it right now is if there's any recurring tasks or things like that, I've made a task itself within the project admin, personal admin project to do it, whether it's weekly or anything. But ultimately, it is a habit, and so I want to be building towards something that I don't even have to think about. And so, like working out, I don't have a task for that, but something like reviewing my knowledge, or like reviewing the vaults or the notes, that stuff, that can take some reminding. And so I want to be, making explicit tasks for those. And then things like, so then after the weekly, I have the bi-weekly. So things I want to be doing a couple times, at least once every 2 weeks. So these are, right now, mostly they're different types of meditation. Obviously, I'm not going to do every type of meditation every day or even once a week. But if I'll be satisfied if I can do, some of these once every 2 weeks. So I'm learning these different types of meditations, what their benefits are, how you practice them, and then how to get the most out of it. And so when I keep doing it on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, I can reap those benefits. I can become more of a master at that type, and a jack of all trades, essentially, but with a positive connotation. And so some of these meditations are cleansing meditation, samatha meditation, vipassana meditation, chakra meditation, transcendental meditation, walking meditation, laughter meditation, and standing meditation. Again, so there's no task for these, but since I'm doing meditation of some sort is already, a habit, I just kind of mix it up. However, I'm feeling like, oh, maybe today I'll do a standing meditation, which I've done. Like, oh, this morning instead of doing Shambhavi, I'll do a standing meditation because I want to get to work at a certain time, and standing meditation takes only 5 minutes, whereas Shambhavi can take 30 minutes. And so I just essentially do what feels right. I just sense myself, and if I haven't done visualization meditation in a while, I'll do that. But if I've done that 3 days in a row, maybe I'll feel like doing a chakra one just to mix it up, just to potentially spark and fire those different neurons and get a different experience. And then the last two monthly habits I have right now are cooking a new meal and finishing reading a book. And so the new meal, I think I've actually had this since last year, but I haven't really done any in a year, so I haven't prioritized it as much. But I'm eating relatively healthy. When I'm cooking, it's just very bland. Definitely not something. I'm not a cook by any stretch of the imagination. I can barely cook for myself, but it is there. It's being tracked, but I just haven't completed it in a while. Learning something new, I should say, learning a new recipe and trying to perfect it. So once I want to put more effort into that, I'll get into it, but right now it's not a priority. And then finishing a book, this is not really like, oh, let me spend 2 hours and finish a book. Obviously it's not how it works. However, I do have a habit of want to inculcate that habit as I'm sleeping, retiring for the night, or when I'm waking up in the morning, or if I have a quick break, consuming an audiobook at work perhaps instead of listening to a sports show. So all these are ways, those micro activities are how I can build those habits of building up to finishing a book in a month. Or so far this year, 4 plus-ish months into 2021, I've finished four to six books, so on pace. They're ahead of schedule, but I think this one a book goal was for in 2020, so I want to be reading two a month this year, so a little on pace / a little bit behind, but I think I'm getting out of each book more than I had in the past, so definitely progress from that perspective. And so there's a combination of active and inactive for all of these different habits that I've just shared, and none of these are actually this is not a database actually that I've updated in a bit. It's there, but I did want to mention it as something that from my perspective I need to be building out and revisiting more as it relates very directly to my affirmations, to my aspirations, and obviously my actions of doing this on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a bi-weekly and a monthly basis. And so that is the habits and practices database that I have right now. I'll probably continue to iterate on it, but that's the version I have at the moment. And so with that concludes the alignment zone kind of dashboard that I have, and going through all the databases that are sub pages or sub databases of the alignment zone. And so in the next few episodes I'll be going into things like the vaults, and then my content side of things. So those should be the next areas of focus. So I'll be going into them next few episodes. But hopefully you had some insight into how I intentionally align myself from the high level to the low level and everything in between. So if this is helpful, let me know if it wasn't. If you want me to focus on something else or anything like that, I'm always open to feedback. But thank you for listening to another episode of Sai's Eyes. I'll see ya when I see ya.